Tony D and Little Joan, and this is a screenwriter's rant on Sovereign, short for Sovereign Citizen, starring Dennis Quaid and Nick Offerman, inspired by true events about the Sovereign Citizen movement. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. The links are in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys. Books 1 through 17, available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. Now, it's hard to articulate my thoughts on this trailer. By the way, written and directed by Christian Swagel. This is my third take, but here it is again. The sovereign citizen movement is not something I would support. So let me get that out of the way. However, I am sympathetic to the idea of less government in my life. I think a lot of people are, regardless of their political affiliation. I think the sovereign citizens sort of take it to an extreme. And like any group of people, some of its members took it way too far. But it feels like there's no effing way Hollywood could do a movie about this without putting their biases very much on display. And I'm seeing the signs of it. I'm not seeing a lot of it in the trailer, because you could make a movie about this. There are guys who are very extreme about the government, and eventually it comes down to shooting stuff, whether they're justified or not. But you can see it a little bit in this trailer. So here is a picture of all the law enforcement guys. They're good people. They're wonderful people. And but Nick Offerman's character in this, and this is his son, a guy playing his son, is going to be like the devil incarnate. And he, I think, in this movie is going to embody everything about anti-government people. And it's going to be a movie saying, yeah, see, people who are anti-government, they're lunatics. They're lunatics that are going to kill you. This is why the government goes after them. This is, I think, the message of the film, which I would not agree with. It's too much. It makes it propaganda. It says it's inspired by true events. That, to me, is a license to just sort of say, I mean, you could say the Pineys is inspired by true events. But, all the wackiness I put in the books, it's obvious fiction. So, yeah, and not for nothing, Nick Offerman's political views, and he's been pretty vocal about it, I think, seem to be completely the opposite of anything anti-government, which is weird because he always seems to play a libertarian or an anti-government guy of some sort, some stripe. I think he's been typecast, probably because he can grow a really good mustache. But I don't know why Hollywood keeps making movies like this. I guess I do know why, deep in my heart, I believe, Hollywood makes these movies because, number one, most of Hollywood is part of a bigger sort of cultural, what would you call it, mindset that, they're with the regime, whatever it is, right? So if being anti-government in this way, and keep in mind, I think people on the left are anti-government often, but they're not anti-government in this particular stripe, right? Like a movie you could make today, and you'd have a lot of fodder for it would be Antifa, right? But how would Hollywood make that movie, I wonder? I think it would make them crusading heroes. This guy, they're making him like, he's the worst man imaginable. I think it's to dump all this anti-government smears all into one movie And ironically, for the people who don't like government, this is the sort of thing that makes them point to it and go, yeah, yeah, that's a real problem. That's propaganda in our Hollywood system, I guess you would say. So, and even here, like just on YouTube, they link to Wikipedia. In my view, not a particularly good source for information, but politically, it aligns with, I think, the people in YouTube and the people who probably made this movie. To me, a daring movie, if you were going to make a daring movie with this particular subject, would be a movie in which Nick Offerman's character kind of comes off as sympathetic, mostly, even though he does bad things. Because then you'd watch it and there'd be that conflict, and you'd have to think about, man, did he really have a point? Or he did have a point, but he went about it the wrong way. That would be sort of earth-shattering. And that, to me, would be the kind of movie they would have made back in the 70s. My anticipation is this movie is going to be the complete opposite. It's not here to challenge your perceptions. It's here to confirm that, yes, the government is good. They even managed to work homeschooling into this, which I assume they smear, because it kind of sounds like a smear. It kind of looks like everybody from the government are nice, reasonable people, and anybody who would question that is an insane conspiracy theorist on the verge of, his life collapsing, and will probably get set off like Nick Offerman here is in the scene. So, first act, not sure how they format this. I would say the first act, they're bringing in the son and questioning him, and then maybe they're flashing back to what the father's done and what he may have done. And they can't find the father. And then the second act is the kid struggling with, does he obey his father? Did his father tell him the right things to do in this world? Or now that quote unquote good people are talking to him, he starts to question what his father told him and realizes, hey, the government's not out to get us. It's actually here to help. And then at some point he reconnects with his dad, but doesn't want to have anything to do with all this conspiracy theory nonsense. And they get into a fight, and eventually Offerman, as he's trying to get away, maybe he's being questioned for previous crimes, or a lot of times it's a gun charge, gets pulled over, and he just snaps, and then it's a final shootout with him and the cops. And then, the ending is, can Offerman's son be saved from this life? And the metaphor being you need to be saved from this. Take this movie as a word of caution. Don't get caught up in all this anti-government stuff. And again, I wouldn't support the sovereign citizens. I think I've seen a few videos with them, and they seem way too extreme. I would, however, I do like to know what my rights are and exercise them when I can. In a situation, I haven't been in a lot of situations, but you want to know your rights, and you don't want to just roll over for the government, but you also don't want to do anything super illegal like this, and super terrible like this. The two are kind of, it's kind of two different arguments. All right, so the write-up is, a father and son who identify as sovereign citizens, a group of anti-government extremists, find themselves in a standoff with the chief of police that sets off a manhunt. Okay. So, yeah. Jacob Tremblay plays the son. Dennis Quaid plays the police chief. Megan Mullany is in it. That's Nick Offerman's wife or girlfriend. I don't know if they're married. Yeah, I wouldn't see this. I definitely wouldn't pay to see it because I think it'll be propaganda. I'm pretty sure. Now, maybe somebody out there has seen it. Could tell me, oh no, this gives you that dichotomy I described. That dichotomy of, he does some really bad things, but some of the things he said, his good points, and you're torn in whether or not you should completely condemn him. That to me would be the tension that would make for a good movie. In this though, I don't think that's the issue. I think filmmakers a lot of time look back on movies and they just sort of copy the facade of them without really digging into the subtext. I think Razor Fist posted something about that the other day, and that was that old Hollywood guys read novels and books and then made movies, whereas the current guys, they watch movies and then make movies, and that kind of makes things a shadow of a shadow of a shadow. So you have a lot of guys, I think, in Hollywood, they can't even process that subtext. And you can get, believe me, you can get lost in the weeds in subtext. You can. And make your movie all message and all subtext and no fun. But, you have to, I think when you're making a piece like this, especially something as complicated as politics, you really have to think about it. And that subtext, it's almost demanded of you. You can't make a simple movie about the sovereign citizens movement. It's not a simple discussion when you dig down into what they believe, because they're digging down into things and saying no. And you can't just turn around and go, you're wrong, and here's a movie that proves it. You got to really sort of give them their due intellectually, or you're just making more fodder for them to kind of gain sympathy. And I don't want to give sympathy to guys who murder people, or characters that murder people, I'll say. So yeah, this is complex, and I just don't have any faith in Hollywood to pull off something like this. And you might say, well, this doesn't look like a Hollywood movie, it doesn't look like a big production. You got Dennis Quaid and Nick Offerman in it. So Dennis Quaid, you could argue, he has different political affiliations. I would find it hard to believe that Nick Offerman would play someone in a movie that would lend any credence to anti-government views, because of what I've heard in his various interviews over the years. But that's just my opinion. So would I see this movie? I might check it out, if I could watch it for free, just to see if my theory's correct. But I have no interest. It's not entertainment to me to watch a guy break down and then the government kills him. It's not entertaining, even if the government's justified or whatever. It's just sad. It's just a sad movie. It's not thrilling. They bill it as a thriller. Is it thrilling? Who am I rooting for in this? To me, a thriller is there's somebody you're going to root for. Somebody is going to, it's a thrill ride. You're going to get through the movie and go, oh, whew, yeah, thank God we survived that. In this, there's only one way. Number one, there's only one way it could end, and it's not very thrilling. I mean, You could argue the gunfights are kind of thrilling, but in a way they're just kind of sad because it's just going to be people killing each other over ideas they should really be discussing and maybe arguing in a court of law. But the system is very unfair, and I just can't get behind a movie like this. So tell me in your comments what you think of this. I'm interested to know, because do you know anything about the sovereign citizens movement, and how do you feel about government and how it's portrayed, and anti-government attitudes in the movies? I don't think it's portrayed as any kind of positive. There's no healthy skepticism for the government in movies in Hollywood unless that government is coming from a right-wing perspective. And it's sad. And really, Hollywood, to my mind, was better when they made their statements more subtly or unconsciously. I had a film professor who said, all great art is unconscious. And I think it's true. So if you look at a movie like High Noon, which was essentially made to be a pro-communist thing, actually it was, weirdly enough, but really it comes off the opposite. It comes off as more of a libertarian kind of thing. That to me is how great art is unconscious. They unconsciously did something great. And it didn't matter what statement they intended, the good statement won out in the end. Now maybe this will be the same thing, who knows? But I'm very interested in your comments on this one. So leave a comment, smash like, and subscribe. What's coming up? Oh, tonight I will be on the American Werewolf podcast at 8 p.m. and we'll be discussing a movie that's pretty complex, pretty damn long if you ask me. It's called Rant by Akira Sawa. It's currently playing for free on Tubi if you want to catch it before we do the discussion so you know what the hell we're talking about. So that's tonight at 8. Friday, I will be at the Bridgeton Library at 5 p.m. for my talk on how to hunt the Jersey Devil. Saturday, assuming it doesn't get completely rained out, my plan is to go to Lucille's Luncheonette from 10 to 2. And then on Sunday, I'll be at the iHeart Horror event. Again, the weather is, I don't know, it's questionable. We'll see. They might have to postpone that one again if the lightning happens. You can't do it in lightning. No one will come. Anyhow, keep watching the skies. We'll see you in the next one.